All right, traders, the green streak continues. I am going to show you how to scalp SPY like a master. This video is going to help improve your trading so much if you utilize the information that I'm going to be sharing with you. I'm going to show you how you can buy put options when they're at the lows, when SPY is at the peak, right before it crashes. And I'm also going to show you how to buy call options when SPY is at the lows, right before the massive spike. I'm going to show you how to master reversals, and I'm going to show you how to capture the trend before it's set and then capitalize after the trend is set to continue to follow the trend. This video is going to show you how to scalp like a pro. And towards the end, I'm going to be sharing my analysis on SPY and my trading plans for tomorrow. So in terms of today, the key levels worked absolutely phenomenally. This is what I had stated within chat in terms of the market open and pre-market updates. So these are the main things that I wanted to bring awareness to in terms of the chat. So in terms of the calls, the idea was to be focused on calls. And the reason why I was interested in calls at these two levels right here, $383.60, as long as we hold above this, the SPY is going to reverse and start to fill the gap from 392. And I was also interested in puts, if you watched yesterday's video, at $392, which was the exact top on the SPY. And you could have played that in the pre-market when SPY was up at 392. If you were up early, you could have scalped this. You could have traded this session right here during extended hours for the gap close reversal, where it literally topped out at our key level once again. And then from there, I had told my team, this is what I wanted to bring awareness to right here. This was the key information. Buying puts on a massive gap down is not ideal, and that's something that we don't really do and focus on. If it's at a key resistance level, we might do a quick lotto trade for a scalp in and out, but overall, we don't buy puts when the stock has a big gap down because it's going to try to reverse and explode up to fill the gap, and we have a gap to fill at 391.72, and it hit very, very key support. This is why I said there's a gap to fill below at 385.36, which is going to be your key support and dark pull level. That's where I'm going to be looking for calls for the bear trap, right? And I also made it very, very clear that we were interested in 383.60 as long as we hold. SPY is super bullish. If it goes under, then it's super bearish, and it never went under. It held and it bounced off that support. And I also had stated at 2:34 p.m., I'm going to show you how we nailed this one. 387 is the level to buy calls. I said that at 2:34 p.m. It was the exact bottom later on in power hour, and the calls exploded. We had people do absolutely phenomenally, taking advantage of these key levels. As I had stated in my zone, the best thing to focus on is to play the reversals. So on the lower levels, you play the reversals for the calls. And the lower levels that I gave out was 383.60, and I also gave out the gap at 385.30. So how do you do this? How do you trade SPY like a pro? I'm going to show you. So I'm going to disable extended hours, and I need you to focus on channels and gap close reversals. So write that down. I want you to focus on when stocks are in channels, they're in a supply and demand zone, and there's a gap to fill above at the top of the channel, and there's a gap to fill below at the support of the channel, right? So write that down. You need to start determining channels, and you need to start playing gap close reversals at those channels. So as you can see right here, this is a clear resistance channel. See how there's a gap to fill on SPY at 391.59. See the little empty space? It fills the gap. Big reversal, big sell-off. Right here, SPY has a gap to fill at $391.73, right? In the pre-market, it filled the gap, hit the top of the channel, reacted as a resistance, and that's confirmation of scalp puts. You can see it's forming lower highs, it's breaking down, it has bearish candlesticks. This is where you scalp puts, and you could trade during extended hours trading session, use the right brokers like TD Ameritrade, Thinkorswim, right? So that's what I need you to focus on. Top of the channel gaps with big downside potential, right? So we had multiple gaps to fill above. We had key resistance, big downside potential, which is big upside potential for those put options. And then in terms of this play, where I made it very, very clear, we're interested in buying calls because SPY had a massive gap down and it's at key support. So it's going to try to bottom at that support and reverse back up to fill the gap. But not only that, this is the key. We have a gap. There's a gap to fill below at 385.28. That's why I said that's going to be our higher key level, and the best level would be right here, which was the 380-360 level. The reason why I said 380-360 as well is because that's very, very key support where the SPY bottomed here. You could see as soon as it bottomed at this 380-360 level, it had big upside potential, and we have a gap to fill above. So the two levels to focus on for calls that I made very, very clear was that the gap, there was a gap to fill at 385.22, and at the key support at 380-360. 380 is just a little bit unrealistic because it already gapped down massively and there's a gap to fill above. So that's what I need you focusing on. When a stock has a massive gap down, you need to be swaying away from puts and you need to be focusing on calls towards the bottom of the channels and towards gaps, right? So the bottom of the channel realistically was this 380-360. And then the gap was at 385s. Both were phenomenal trading entries, right? You could see right here when it looked bearish towards this 380-360, right here when it looked bearish towards 380-360, it had a very nice reversal. Right here when it looked bearish at 380-360, it had a bearish reversal, right? So that's what I need you to focus on. And the patterns are very, very key, right? So now that you have a better understanding on what it is that we're looking for and what it is that we're doing, the trend was set. The trend was set. It had a bullish reversal at our best level. It never cracked, which means it's super bullish. So the bulls are taking control. Now, why did I say right here at 2:30 p.m., why did I say within the chat, people did very, very well on this one because it was the exact floor. People were asking me, well, what do you think about calls? At 2:34 p.m., I told them 387 is the level to buy calls, previous resistance. Why did I say that? Because my theory was playing out. The theory was SPY had a massive gap down. It's oversold. Let's focus on calls. We're going to focus on calls towards the gap for the gap close reversal at 385.50. We're also going to focus on calls towards the key support at 380.360 towards the exact lows, right? And it was working and it was reacting bullish. And another thing is look at the confirmations on the 30-minute. When it fills this gap right here and it forms a bullish wick, a bullish candlestick, it spikes. Boom, you sell into the spike. That's a scalp. Right here, bullish candlestick at the gap, bullish candlestick at the gap, it spikes. You sell into the spike. Those are great scalps. So if you use confirmations, you could have been buying calls right here at 385. Instead of 380-360 if you use confirmations. This was highly predictable, right? But why 387? Why did I say later on today to buy calls at 387? I'm going to show you. So write this down. We had this thesis to focus on calls and to be bullish because SPY had a massive gap down. It was oversold and it had bullish confirmations towards support as well. It just made sense, right? We don't want to buy puts on a massive gap down, right? So what you need to pay attention to is the channel. SPY was channel trading and it was bottoming at all of the key levels for calls, which is bullish. So then it's going to try to break above the resistance. And as you can see right here, you had a lot of resistance at 370.30 and 387.50. But the reason why I said 387 and not 387.60 and not 387.30 towards the high of this channel is because of this. This is what sparked my attention. A massive bear trap was triggered when the SPY broke above this level, and this level is 387. This is why I told people 387. The high of this is 386.97. The SPY had a very nice sell-off from this level, but once it had a breakout, it was a very nice squeeze all the way to 389.40, right? So that's big upside potential. So the SPY has been reacting bullish at our key levels, 385, 380, 360. Now it is breaking out for new highs and it is squeezing bears and it's spiking big and it's happening extremely quickly and we have a gap to fill at 391. So are we going to buy calls at resistance towards 389, 389, 389, or are we going to wait for it to retest to the level where the bear trap was going to get created? We're going to wait for the level to retest where the bear trap's going to get created. This is where the bear trap finally got created at 386.95 in terms of your resistance. It had a massive breakout and it went from 387 to 389.50 in like 10 single minutes. So when it instantly drops back down to the previous resistance level, we're going to buy calls because that previous resistance had a massive breakout. So it's going to try to react as a support level when it retests for the first time. That's the game, man. Write that down. That is the game. We had a bullish thesis. There was a gap to fill above. It had a massive breakout. So if it's going to instantly drop back to previous resistance where the bear trap was going to get created, the bears are going to get destroyed again because the previous resistance should try to react as a support level and react as a floor because it had a massive breakout. It's been confirmed bullish at all of our key levels, and there's a gap to fill above. So if you combine all of those factors and variables together, that's what you should be focusing on, right? In terms of what made this trade idea very, very well on our key levels wasn't just because it was at support, right? It wasn't just because it was at support. You can see right here, people like to talk about support, right? They like to talk about, oh, there's some support right here at 384. And you can say, yeah, there's some support here at 386.5 as well, right? What's going to be the bottom? I like to focus on the bottom of the channels, right? But those aren't my key levels. My key levels are towards the gaps. The gap is at 385.28, and I like to think of the bigger picture, right? So what's the bigger picture? The SPY had a massive gap down. If it hits the gap right here, it's going to try to reverse. If it hits 383.60, it's going to try to reverse, and then it's going to start to fill the gap. And if I see that it's bottoming out at those key levels and confirming bullish, then I'm going to focus on calls on dips, and I'm also going to focus on trading the trend. So, well, how do we take advantage of trading the trend? It's reversing at that gap at 385.60. It's reversing at your best level for calls at 383.60. How do we take advantage for the breakout play? You don't buy it here. I'm not telling you to buy 387 calls right here at resistance, at resistance, at resistance, at resistance. What I'm telling you is I'm telling you to wait for it to have a massive breakout and for the bear trap to get created at resistance. Don't predict anything. Miss out on the move. For those of you who love buying the breakouts and love chasing the top, miss out on the breakout. Wait for it to have a massive breakout. And then you say, okay, the bear trap is confirmed. I'm going to buy this at previous resistance. This time, not over here, not over here, not over here, not over here, because it had a massive breakout. So if it instantly drops right back down to previous resistance, what do you think is going to happen? You think they're going to try to turn it into resistance, or you think it's going to bounce and react to support? It's going to try to bounce and react to support as a floor because it had a massive breakout. The trend was confirmed bullish the whole entire day. It was channel trading, and when it breaks above the channel and has a massive breakout, you don't go chasing it and buying calls at the top. You buy the dips towards or at the previous bear trap resistance level. And it triggered right here. This is where it triggered at 386.97. I didn't say 387.50 or 387.30. I said 387 because it triggered right here. A little bull trap triggered right here for a nice pullback, and then a massive bear trap finally triggered, right? So we don't predict shit. We wait for it to have a massive breakout, and the trend was already confirmed bullish, and there's a gap to fill above, and it's having a gap close reversal. Those are the things that I like. So in terms of what I'm showing you here with basic support and resistance, you need to combine this with gap close reversals. You need to combine this with, oh, it's filling the gap, right? So, oversold channels, it's at key support. It filled the gap at 385. It's starting to reverse. There's a gap to fill above at 391. That's the key to all of this, right? I'm not telling you to really just wait for a stock to break above resistance, and when it gets slammed back down by at the previous resistance react to support. That's too basic. That's too basic, man. Unless it's a killer overreaction where it has some sort of insane breakout and then it drops right back down, you could try it. But that's too basic. What was special about the support and resistance that I'm sharing with you and that people don't talk about is it gapped down, meaning there's a gap to fill above. So SPY is going to come crashing back down. Let me show you on a 5-minute chart to make this a little bit more clear. This is what makes everything that I'm saying special. And in terms of this basic support and resistance play that I'm talking about, I only like to do this with the gaps. There's a gap to fill here, right? So there's a gap to fill towards 385.30. And there's very heavy support as well at 383.60. That's your bottom zone. That's your bottom range gap close reversal zone, right? It has a massive gap down. Since this had a massive gap down, this is very good for calls in terms of day traders because it's going to try to reverse and spike to fill the gap. So wait for a massive gap down, wait for the stock to go back to the next gap that's waiting to fill below. And you can also look at key support levels with big upside potential, which was at 383.60. It's just not realistic to go to 380.65 because it already gapped down massively and sold off so hard, right? So that's the key, man. The key was the big, massive gap down, and then it fills the gap below. It starts to reverse at the gap to fill below. It starts to reverse at the key support at 383.80. Look at this sideways slanted bear trap right here at 383.60. These are all the keys. When you see all of this playing out, spiking off of key levels, confirming bullish, that's when you know to start buying the dips and to start getting in at those key levels, right? And then I just get in. So I don't wait for a confirmation. I just get in at my key levels. My confirmation that it's bullish is, okay, SPY had a massive gap down. When it tries to hit this gap, when it tries to hit this key support zone, it's going to try to bounce in reverse. That's my confirmation in a sense. And then even right here, I wouldn't even use confirmation on this one. The bears got trapped at 387. And it just blasted off to $390 almost. If it instantly drops right back down, I'm just going to get in because previous resistance is going to try to react as a floor. I don't care about the confirmation. It's already confirmed bullish for the entire day. It had a massive breakout above the highs, so that's bullish. So if it drops right back down to the previous highs where the bear trap got created, it's going to bounce, right? So I just get in. I get in at the best levels. I don't even look for confirmation in a sense. Sometimes I look for confirmation, but even though, like I'm saying, like I don't look for confirmation, it's already confirmed in a sense. It's reversing at my key levels. There's a gap to fill above. It's pushing for new highs. Wouldn't it make sense if it's filling the gap, it's reversing at the 385 gap, and then it's starting to fill the gap at 391.70? Wouldn't it make sense to buy calls, not at resistance, not at 387, trying to hope for it to break out? Wait for it to miss out. Wait for it to have the big move. And then when it gets slammed right back down and everyone's fearful, that's when you need to think, oh, the bear trap was created here, and this was just pushing for new highs. So the new low of the channel is likely going to be at previous resistance to react as support. That's the game. So write all of that down, folks. That's how you trade the best setups, the best prices. Now, in terms of my update heading into for tomorrow, very, very simple day. The best level to buy put options is at the gap. I'm going to be targeting these two levels tomorrow. So these are my levels. $391 and like 73 cents, right? And if I see bearish confirmations towards that level, I'm not going to nickel and dime it. So there's a gap to fill above at 391.73. This is towards the top of a resistance channel, and I'm not looking to play a guessing game. What I know is SPY has been having gap close reversals. It had one today. SPY has been topping out at key resistance, and it's been bottoming at key support. Who am I to say it's going to break above 392 and then go to 397? Who am I to say it's going to break below 384 and then go to 380, right? I'm playing the channels, but with the gaps. That's the key. You got to do it with the gaps. There's a gap to fill at $391 and 73 cents. Let's see, is it 391.70? It's 391.73. That's where the gap is waiting to fill, 391.73. And if you look at this, it keeps having gap close reversals both ways. There was a gap to fill right here towards 391.59. It fills the gap, has a massive reversal, right? So my play is to buy puts at 391.70, and the max risk is 393 to 393.50. That is my max risk on puts, and I'm going to be looking for bearish confirmations, right? That's what I need you to focus on. If you want to be bullish at the top at 393, wait for it to go to 397, then be bullish at 393. Do you get it? That's the game. Stop trying to predict breakouts. Miss the breakout if you want to buy high, and then when it drops back down to the breakout, get in on the initial entry. You just have to get in. You cannot wait for it to be confirmed. It's already confirmed bullish. It broke out. You missed out. Don't you understand? You have to just get in on the initial levels, initial reactions. So there you go. That's what I would tell people who are bullish at 393. I would tell them, if you're bullish at 393, wait for it to go to 397, then be bullish at 393, right? Same thing I did at 387. I wasn't bullish at 387. I was bullish at the gap, 385 and 380.60. I was not bullish at 387 until it had a massive breakout and confirmed my theory that it's even more bullish in filling the gap. Therefore, now I'm bullish at 387 because that had a massive breakout. So if it instantly drops back to previous resistance, that's going to be the new bottom of the channel to turn into a floor because that's where the bears got trapped. This is the game, guys. Write all of this down. This is the game. This is the money-making information. So we're looking to play puts at 391.73. Max pain is 393, 397. Now, in terms of other key levels that you need to be aware of heading into tomorrow, this right here, 389.28. This is like our upper middle level. So in terms of your exact peak, it's towards the 391.70 gap to 393.50 range. In terms of your exact lows, you can really kind of say this 384 level, but if you want to go directly at the lows, 380.65, right? So we're towards the upper middle, and we're going to have a new key gap level to watch at 389.28. It's not the best level, just something I'm keeping an eye on. So what I need you to understand is the best level for puts and what to focus on tomorrow if you're trading the best setups, the best prices, is going to be the gap fill reversal at 391.73 for puts. That's where you hit puts with confidence. And then 389.28, that's like your middle top. That's like your top of the channel right now. So see how the top of the channel was at 387 and then it kept selling off. The top of your channel right now is towards 389.50s, right? So if it breaks above and fills the gap, they're going to try to reverse it. Then they're going to try to sell it back off to 389.28. And then it's going to try to bounce at the 389.28 level, right? So just keep that in mind. So we just got to be careful with 389.28. I'm not too interested in trading at it, but what you need to understand is it's going to try to reverse and crash at 391.70, which is bearish. Then they're going to try to reverse and spike at 389.28, which is make or break. If that reacts to support, then it's going to go micro bullish. If that reacts as a resistance, it's going to go micro bearish. But there's a little bit of complications if it fills the gap first. If it fills this gap at 391.70 first and it gaps up, that is extremely good for puts and bears because it's going to reverse and then it has a purpose to go back down to fill the gap. Then it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle because they're going to try to reverse it at the previous resistance at the gap at 389.28. Now, if this just gaps down and crashes, I would just sit on the sidelines. So if we just gap down and crash at 389.28, that will be a key level, but it's not your best level for puts. So it's a little tricky if it gaps down. It's a little tricky if it gaps down for puts. And I would just wait till 391.70. If we gap down, I would just wait till 391.70 and I would disregard the 389.28. That's more of a professional level. If you're going to play puts there, you got to use a tight stop, right? So it's a little more trickier if it gaps down. If it does gap down, then I would just look to buy calls at this 384 or 380.65. That's what I would look to do. 389.28 is make or break. So just understand that's a key gap level. And that's the new top of the channel, the new top of the micro channel, right? I'm not too interested in 389.28. What I am interested in doing is, and this is how I would perceive the best setups. If it gaps up, I play puts at 391.70. If it gaps down, I play calls towards 384, max risk under 383.50. If I get stopped out, I buy calls at 380.65. That's the best thing you could do tomorrow. So write that down. If it happens, it happens. If we gap up, it's puts at 391.73. If we gap down, it's calls at 383.60. If it cracks, tight stop loss, rebuy at 380.65, stop loss under 380. That's it. Very, very simple. That is how you trade the best sets prices. That's what I'd like you guys to focus on if it gaps up or gaps down. And just understand 380.90.28 is a make or break gap level. We do know right now it's towards the top of a channel. So it's a battle right now. Basically, it's like this. It's at the top of the channel right now. It's going to try to pull back. But if they keep holding 387, then it's going to try to break out to fill the gap. It's not your ideal best level, but I am a professional, so I will be keeping an eye on 389.28. So what I can tell beginners is if we gap down, calls at 384, you get stopped out. Calls at 380.65. If we gap up, puts 383.60, and then professionals, you can keep an eye on 389.28. Don't get caught up in anything. Use a very, very tight stop at 389.28. It's not the best level, but it is a key gap, make or break level, folks. This is not a level to joke around with. Look right here. Look what happened. The chart is telling you. It tries to blast off to the top of the channel, sells off, right? So it's not the best level to be buying puts, and it's not the best level to be buying calls. It's a fuck you level. That's basically what it is. So with that being said, I'm going to be signing off. If you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot, make sure to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. If you do want to be a part of Trader Society, now is the best time to be joining. It's a one-time fee. It's lifetime access. We are going to be raising the price end of March. So stay tuned for that. But if you'd like to join right now and get grandfathered in for a lifetime at the best price you can get in, this is the best time to join, folks. This is now our 4th day collectively as a whole, where we've made over 6 figures as a team. We had over 43 green today and only 9 red. And I'm telling you guys, the results are coming in and we're absolutely killing it. I want to give a big shout out to Top G. I want to give a big shout out to Z-Man. Big shout out to Dimitri. These guys are crushing it. Big shout out to Jim as well. He had some phenomenal trades at puts at the peak at 389, and I was focused on calls at the lows towards 387s. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, we're absolutely crushing it. We have so many people join the program and they make back the cost of the program within their first day here. It's truly incredible on some of the results that people are getting. So if you do want to be a part of it, it's the first link down below in the description. I will see you guys tomorrow live at Market Open. All of the information in terms of Trader Society is the first link down below in the description. I will see you guys then.